Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Sam, and this is a three-part series of my studio, giving you a tour of all of my gear, my guitars, amps, and pedals. Today I'm focusing on all of my amps, but please go check out part 1, which was a tour of my studio and demos of all of my guitars. So I have 4 amplifiers. 3 of them are vintage Fenders, and 1 is a custom-built Tweed amp. And they all sound pretty different, and let's get a little backstory for each of them now. This is my Marcara Music Amps Tweed Pro. This was a custom-built Tweed amp made by my amp tech Paul Delgado, and it has a pine cab and a 15-inch speaker. So the Fender Tweed Pro was made in the 1950s. Buddy Holly famously used one of them, a wide panel version. This is the narrow panel version, which came later in the 1950s. And the Tweed Pros are the same circuit as the Fender Super and the Fender Bandmaster, except they each have different speaker configurations. This has 15-inch speaker, the Tweed Super has 2 10-inch speakers, and the Tweed Bandmaster has 3 10-inch speakers. The Bandmaster was famously played by Pete Townsend. This has presence, bass, treble knobs, and a volume knob for each bright and normal channel. It has a Weber Alnico speaker in there, 15-inch, and it has real vintage RCA 5881 power tubes. It's fixed bias, so it's 25 watts and pretty high headroom. It can stay pretty clean and pretty loud, but it also crunches up when you crank the volume. This is my 1974 Fender Silverface Pro Reverb amp. It has 2 12-inch speakers, and it has a reverb tank and a tremolo channel. And the Pro Reverb is similar to a twin reverb. They both have 2 12-inch speakers, except the Pro Reverb has about half the wattage of a twin reverb. It's 40 watts as opposed to 85 to 100 watts in the twin reverb. And it has a tube rectifier instead of solid state rectifier. So you can get more crunch out of it, and it's a little warmer sounding. And in 1974, they added the master volume control on the Pro Reverb, which kind of changed the way it sounded. Some people don't like it. So mine is actually, it is a 74, but it's right before they added the master volume. So I kind of had the last of the golden age Silverface Pro Reverbs. It originally came with Utah speakers, and I replaced them with Weber 12F150 speakers, which are ceramic, and they are based on the Jensen C12N 12-inch speakers, which are found in a lot of the classic 1960s deluxe reverbs and twin reverbs. And it's my favorite amp. It's really clean. It has that kind of Silverface twin sound that you hear on the Beatles' rooftop concert, Europe 72 by the Grateful Dead, the Rolling Stones. They all use these kind of high headroom Silverface amps. So this is my 1962 Fender Tweed Champ amp. It's a small student model they made in the 1950s, and they phased out in 1964 when they replaced it with the black panel Champs. Most of Fender's Tweed amps were phased out in 1960, so this was one of the last of the Tweed amps available in their line. It's made famous by Eric Clapton and Keith Richards mainly as a studio recording amp, and that's because it's small pine cab, 8-inch speaker, and it's only 5 watts, which means you can crank the amp and get it distorting, and it won't be very loud at all. So you just put a mic on it, and it won't blow your ears out, or, importantly, annoy your neighbors. So it's only got one knob, which is volume, so it's very simple. It's in great condition. It's all original. Although I had to mod the speaker. The original Oxford 8-inch speaker was buzzing quite a bit, So I had to replace it with this Weber Alnico 8-inch Blue Pup, which is based on the Celestion Blue speakers. But it didn't really change the fundamental tone of the amp very much. It still sounds similar to how it always did. This is my 1965 Fender Bassman amp. It's used by bassists and guitarists, and it does both exceptionally well. The Bassmans in the 1950s were Tweed amps originally in a combo format, and then in the early 60s they moved to this piggyback format with separated head and cab. The early 60s piggyback ones were blonde Tolex with a presence knob, and then in 1964 they moved to these black panel ones. They got rid of the presence knob and they added a deep switch on the bass channel and a bright switch on the normal channel. And mine is all original and great condition with the original Oxford 12-inch speakers in there, 12T6s, sorry. And the circuit is an AB165 circuit, which is the same as the Silverface early Bassmans, which started in 1967, and that was famously used by Paul McCartney on the Rooftop concert. So mine is the same circuit as his, and it's a great amp for both bass and guitar. So now let's hear all 4 amps played clean with my Fender Telecaster. So now let's add an overdrive pedal. I'm going to play my JHS Angry Charlie distortion pedal and hear how the amps can handle it. Now we're going to hear all 4 amps distorted and crank the volume knob. My amp tech Paul Delgado made me this special cable which allows me to run my Champ amp into my Bassman cab. And I disconnect the speaker cable in the Champ and plug this cable in, and then a speaker cable goes out here into the Bassman cab, and it sounds a lot different because you're running into two 12-inch high headroom ceramic speakers instead of the 8-inch. And finally, I'm going to plug in my Fender Precision Bass into my Fender Bassman, and let's compare the normal channel and the bass channel in the amp. Alright, thank you for watching my demo of all of my amps. Stay tuned for part 3 where I take you through all of my pedals. Thanks.